Do you know what we're here for?
Equal parts. Oh my gosh.
Illegal.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
Don't be creepy.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
What?
What'd you drum up?
Thanks, Jeff, for the question.
A what now?
China. I have to have my China.
Arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the 20th century.
Aren't I a good guy?
I made a huge, tiny mistake.
I'm staying in the race.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
How people come for you already. I don't know if you know this.
Phrasing. Donald Trump spent a lot of quality time with my wife.
Illegal.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Not getting it. Wouldn't be present at this juncture.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Jesus ain't say that.
Zuckerbucks.
Follow the rich way.
Boxes full of Pepe.
Well, look at us, here once again. Shocking, we made it through an entire year. And yet we have another one staring us right in the face. It's only been 24 hours, and yet there's a hell of a lot to talk about. So we better get to it. Buckle up those seatbelts, space fams. This could be a treacherous journey. It's also the last night of Hanukkah and Kwanzaa. Same night. Very exciting. Also very sad for some. Late Lord tonight. Yep, it is late. It's late. It's true. That's okay, I think. Jeez, it's been a weird start to the year. And we do have some stuff to cover that I didn't cover. What was it? Yesterday's day stream? Or two? One of these streams I didn't do or finish. And I need to cover some of that stuff. But it's been a weird start to the year. Before we get talking about any of that, let's talk about the end of Hanukkah, the last night. The lighting of the world's largest Hanukkah.
The world's largest menorah is shining tonight in Manhattan for the last night of Hanukkah. Mayor Adams joined the ceremony at 59th Street and 5th Avenue near Central Park. The 36-foot menorah has become a holiday tradition over the decades, lit by many mayors and other elected officials. It's certified by the Guinness World Record book as the largest menorah in the world.
There you go. There's your Hanukkah story for the day. I'm sorry, it's not even the biggest of Jewish holidays, but we are going to at least celebrate it along with the rest of the, holidays here still. We got the decorations up for one more day. And then things are going to start coming down around here, I'm sorry to say. The holidays are coming to a close. There are some decorations I would have liked to have gotten up, but, there's only so much time. It's only so much time. Now, speaking of the way in which we've decided to start the year and the sort of weirdness of it, I guess we better get right into it. That's right, America. Fuck yeah. All the way farthest west point in America. Honolulu, Hawaii. Look at that. Fireworks, it's beautiful. What's going on over here? Might be... Fireworks seem to be going off in the wrong spot. Everybody is lighting off fireworks. But this seems to be more pronounced in the neighborhood rather than above it. That's not good. That's bad. It starts off looking, you're like, oh, pretty fireworks, yay, and then it's like, oh, wait, no, that's not good. And unfortunately, 2 people died from this incident. This is why we should not play with fireworks. It's not safe. Maybe leave it to the professionals. Even the professionals get it wrong sometimes. And stuff like this can happen when you get carried away as an amateur and people die. Okay. And here's another situation that happened earlier today, about 7 hours ago, outside of Trump Hotel in Las Vegas.
We want to turn now to another breaking news story, and I'm going to caution you. We are following this developing story. We want to be clear that we do not know anything that ties what I'm about to say, that story, to what we've been talking about in New Orleans. This is just a separate story that we're learning about. Authorities are investigating a vehicle fire outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas that left one person dead, injured several others. We believe the vehicle in question is a Cybertruck. At a press conference this afternoon, authorities did not have any information on the cause of that fire. They said they have many unanswered questions. Here's some of what they said moments ago.
I know you're looking for a lot of answers, and ideally right now we just don't have a lot of answers. We're going to continue to work as hard as we can over the next 24 to 48 hours.
NBC News correspondent Emily Aketa is following this story and joins me now. So, Emily, we played that soundbite. What else do we know at this point about what happened in Las Vegas?
So I'll start with just kind of underscoring the outstanding questions at this point. There are still so many unknowns around the circumstances of the vehicle fire, including, was this mechanical, accidental, intentional? Authorities would not weigh in on that. But we know that fire and police in Las Vegas responded to the valet section just outside, as you can see on your screen, of the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. That's on the northern end of the Las Vegas Strip, to a vehicle fire. The fire has since been put out, but they are encouraging people to avoid the area. We learned from authorities moments ago that 7 people sustained minor injuries, some transported to the hospital, and one person who had been in that Cybertruck, they did die. Now, looking at various videos posted to social media, you can see smoke billowing into the sky from a distance away. You can see the flames on your screen right there as well. Some people on social media describing hearing loud sounds and types of explosions, but we're still waiting for more information, and authorities say they expect to be able to share more information in the coming hours. It appears that it was, again, seeing on your screen, a Cybertruck. That is one of the newer vehicles from Tesla, Elon Musk's company. We know Elon Musk does have a position in the incoming administration under Donald Trump in his presidential administration, Kate.
All right. And Emily, what have we heard? Have we heard anything from the Trump organization since that was outside a Trump hotel?
So the Trump organization, as well as Donald Trump's son, Eric Trump, posting to social media saying they acknowledge the electric vehicle fire, also writing in part, the safety and well-being of our guests and staff remain our top priority. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to the Las Vegas Fire Department and local law enforcement. The FBI is now also involved with this. Also, the governor acknowledging that they are monitoring the situation as well. But still a rapidly developing situation, Kate, with so many unanswered questions. But you can understand the concern given the timing and the location of this.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app,
hold on.
or follow us on social media.
Well, we're getting all sorts of information here, but more came out as things happened here.
According to the memos reviewed by CBS News from New Orleans in 2017, where they talked about possibly limiting traffic altogether in that area, bollards aside, one of the city memos said businesses weren't keen on that because they want to have traffic coming through. They want the business. That's always a balancing act. It's easy to revisionist history, the decisions made, but cities across the country have to consider that too.
Right. If you're going to put bollards up and then you're going to put squad cars up and then you're going to put big trucks on top or on reinforced as a layer or in front of the police cars, then what kind of atmosphere are you creating for those who want to have a safe pedestrian experience?
Oh yeah, it sounds fun.
Like they're in an armed camp.
It does sound fun, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And businesses understand.
Sounds like it's like a family environment, you know, a militarized family environment.
Worry and fret about that.
And I mention this because there is, at this point, as this day evolves, some symmetry between an incident in Las Vegas and in New Orleans. There was an explosion of a car near the Trump.
It's kind of funny to hear CBS be like, you know what, how far is too far when it comes to the police state? It's like, hey, look at that. there is some sort of an ethereal, sort of amorphous unclear place for you people where maybe the police state goes too far. I don't know. Weird.
Hotel in the Las Vegas Strip area.
We see that on video right now.
According to our latest CBS News reporting, somebody in that car is dead. They don't know if it's a man or a woman. You see the scope and size of that explosion. There are injuries too, and there's an investigation underway as to whether there are other explosives in the area. You have two different events on the same day, both in that business district where there are people, where there are crowds. And if there's a connective tissue between the two, we expect it to come out. But again, you have to make these decisions as city leaders. How far do you want to go now? Do you want to put bollards around the entire business district? Do you want to do what Washington, D.C. will do January 20th?
We must protect business
on all the on-ramps and off-ramps to say, we don't want anybody coming around here. In that case, for the inauguration, it makes a lot of sense. But businesses and cities will grapple with, how much do we want to tell people, stay away?
Yeah, and best laid plans, Major. You can plan and plan and plan, but as we heard from Chief of Police Kirkpatrick today, she said we did indeed have a plan. The terrorists defeated it.
Defeated. Wow.
The water was just falling from the ceiling, and there was one cop there, and there were a couple of elderlies behind me, a woman and husband. And she actually got really hurt because she was there at the moment. I keep imagining that if we arrived like 10 minutes earlier, it was supposed to be us, but they were told to lay down on the floor and she was really hurt. Her leg was flesh. So I asked the cop, I said, do you think there's a body inside there? And he just nodded his head, basically. He said, yes. We had three explosions. The first one, where we saw the fire. The second one was, I guess, the battery or something like that. And the third one was the big explosion that smoked the entire area. And it was the moment that everybody that was near was told to evacuate to stay.
Okay, what else do we have here on this?
Breaking new details just into the newsroom. We've just learned the Tesla Cybertruck that exploded outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas this morning was from Colorado. The driver rented that truck in our state using car rental company Turo, then drove to Vegas, arriving around 7:30 in the morning before pulling into Trump Towers. One person inside the truck was killed. Investigators still looking into any possible connection between that explosion in Las Vegas and the deadly terror attack overnight in New Orleans. In the famed French Quarter area, the vehicles rented in both incidents were through the Turo app.
And the death toll is now 15, and we know dozens more are hurt. Police say a truck rammed into the crowd filled with people celebrating the New Year on Bourbon Street around 3 o'clock in the morning. Less than an hour ago, President Biden...
Now they're talking about this other one. This is apparently the video of the moment where the truck exploded. Jesus Christ. Oh my God. That is horrifying.
At about 8:40, when a 2024 Tesla Cybertruck pulled into the area valet of the Trump International Hotel. Very quickly thereafter that, the driver, who was the sole occupant of the truck, we saw what looked like maybe some sort of smoke, and then the truck exploded.
Copy.
So the individual that was in that truck is obviously deceased, still in the truck as we speak here today. The fact that this was a Cybertruck really limited the damage that occurred inside of the valet because it had most of the blast go up through the truck and out. In fact,
I'm sorry, the Cybertruck saved the day. What is this? Is this guy getting paid by Elon?
Because it had most of the blasts go up through the truck and out. In fact, if you look on that video, you'll see that the front glass doors at the Trump hotel were not even broken by that blast, which they were parked directly in front of.
As of right now, our number one goal is to ensure that we have the proper identification of the subject involved in this incident. Following that, our second objective is to determine whether this was an act of terrorism or not. I know everybody's interested in that word and trying to see if we can say, hey, this is a terrorist attack. That is our goal, and that's what we're trying to do. We have a ton of resources dedicated to this right now, and again, we're doing it with our partners. We're doing it together, jointly, and we'll continue to do so until we figure out exactly what's going on.
Do I think it's a coincidence? I don't know, but what I can tell you is we're absolutely investigating any connectivity to what happened in New Orleans, as well as other attacks that have been occurring around the world. We're not ruling anything out yet.
Okay. Well, it would appear that that Cybertruck was filled with explosives and fireworks. It looked a bit like a gas canister. They're not sure whether or not it's related to any of the other incidents recently, like they just said. Apparently they're very interested in the word terrorism. I don't know why. Specifically, that word is so interesting, but should be interesting to see what happens coming all of this. This is the aftermath of everything, where they just have APs just parked outside of this car for a half an hour. I wonder if anything exciting happens for a half an hour. So yeah, this is the way we're starting the new year. And we're not done with truck explosions or attacks or, well, truck-related incidents. We're going to talk about what happened in New Orleans now. You've probably heard about that as well. Happened around a very similar time today, if I'm not mistaken. This is from outside of the scene of this truck attack that happened in New Orleans earlier today, which killed at least 15 people. It's a strange sort of series of events here. And we've covered a number of other sort of
anytime I see a Reuters
market
attacks
all over the world, from here to China, right? We saw a van attack in a Chinese market or outside of a daycare. It was something like that. Actually, there might have been two in the same week, and that's why I'm confusing them. And then there was one in Germany. There was one in oh god. There was at least another two that I can't think of right now, but there's been a bunch over the last few months, if my memory serves correctly.
Good to see you.
I don't think we need this.
The horrific and deadly attack in New Orleans. At least 15 killed and dozens more injured when a driver rammed a rented pickup truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street around 3 a.m., just hours into the new year. The FBI now investigating it as an act of terrorism. Law enforcement now reviewing this surveillance video showing the white pickup truck driving down Canal Street before turning right into Bourbon Street. The suspect mowing down dozens of people over a 3-block stretch, turning the typically festive and iconic Bourbon Street into a deadly scene of carnage and chaos. Dramatic video capturing the moment police exchange gunfire with the suspect, authorities saying he died in that exchange. 2 police officers were also injured but are in stable condition. Authorities releasing this image of the 42-year-old Shamsu Din Jabbar, an Army veteran and U.S.-born citizen. Police now asking anyone with information to come forward. Tonight, why the FBI says the suspect did not act alone, the chilling accounts from eyewitnesses, and what we're learning about the victims. And President Biden speaking just moments ago. ABC's Trevor Ault leads us off in New Orleans with the new details coming in tonight.
Tonight, state, federal, and local authorities searching for possible accomplices after a 42-year-old man from Texas flying an ISIS flag barreled a rented Ford F-150 pickup down Bourbon Street, killing at least 15 people and injuring dozens more.
He was hell-bent on creating the carnage and the damage that he did.
Law enforcement tracking this disturbing surveillance video showing the pickup coming down Canal Street around 3:15 this morning before veering right into pedestrians.
This is completely fucked.
People that got hit by this car.
You just heard
Jesus
this
Christ.
squeal and like the rev of an engine and then this huge loud impact and then the people screaming.
This video shot from a Bourbon Street balcony showing bodies laying in the middle of the street. Jimmy Cothran was his group's designated driver.
We ran upstairs, and when we got on the balcony, what we saw was insanity. I mean, something out of a movie. The graphic nature of it, and it was unbelievable. We instantly counted, I'd say, 10 bodies.
Authorities identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Shamsu Din Jabbar, a U.S. citizen and Army veteran from Texas. They say he was speeding down Bourbon, wearing body armor and firing an AR-style rifle out of the truck, racing about 3 blocks before crashing, then stepping out and opening fire again, wounding 2 police officers. Authorities returning fire, the suspect dead at the scene, this image showing his body laying next to that truck. And inside that Ford F-150, authorities say they found multiple homemade pipe bombs packed with nails. And sources tell ABC News on that flagpole, wrapped in that gray jacket, is a black flag bearing the ISIS insignia. Police spending much of the day scouring downtown New Orleans, detonating multiple possible IEDs in multiple locations. ATF agents swarming this home 2 miles away, believed to be an Airbnb linked to the suspect.
We do not believe that Jabbar was solely responsible. We are aggressively running down every lead, including those of his...
I love how multiple tech companies are involved in this. Airbnb, Turo... I mean, Tesla is technically a tech company too. I wasn't counting them, but yeah, I mean, this is a very weird.
That's why we need the public's help.
Fucked up way to start the year.
Anybody has any interactions with some
Remember me last night when I was all like, okay, everybody, it's fine. 2025 people, we're going to do it. It's going to be a good year. How many hours did we make it? Like 12?
Din Jabbar, in the last 72 hours, that you contact us.
The attack coming as every law enforcement officer in the city was on duty, with thousands of New Year's revelers and football fans in town for the Sugar Bowl, all packing the French Quarter. In this EarthCam video, nearly a dozen officers seen on Bourbon Street, not far from the attack, racing toward the danger. The FBI now leading the investigation, authorities looking at how the suspect was able to get down Bourbon Street, which is usually blocked off by security barriers. But after multiple malfunctions, they were in the process of being replaced. There were vehicles blocking Bourbon Street, but as that video shows, the suspect went on the sidewalk.
We had barriers there, we had officers there, and they still got around. So we did indeed have a plan, but the terrorist defeated it.
I'd like to know how many people were run over and how many people were shot. I know it shouldn't be an important distinction in this moment, but I would like to know.
The stories of the innocent victims are coming into focus. 18-year-old Nikaira Dido from Gulfport, Mississippi. She was set to start nursing school this month. 37-year-old Reggie Hunter, who came to New Orleans from Baton Rouge with a cousin on a whim.
Than just living your life, trying to have fun, and for this to happen to you is
is senseless.
And 27-year-old Nicole Perez, her employer, says she was a great mom.
She was being a mother and a father, and she was doing a really good job.
We are thinking of the victim.
She was being a mother and a father? You mean she was just being a parent doing her best? I think that's what she meant. That's a weird way to put that. Okay, whatever. This is just horrifying. It's making me sad. It's making me sad that this is how we're starting off the year.
Good evening. We come on the air with breaking news about that deadly truck ramming attack in New Orleans. Any moment now, President Biden is set to speak about the attack, which is now being investigated as an act of terrorism by the FBI. Here's what we know at this hour. It happened early this morning on New Orleans' bustling Bourbon Street. The FBI says a driver intentionally rammed a Ford pickup truck, which appears to be a rental, into crowds who were celebrating the new year. At least 15 people are dead. More than 30 others are hurt. The New Orleans police superintendent says the driver was, quote, hell-bent on creating carnage. The FBI identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Shamsuddin Jabbar, a U.S. citizen from Texas and an Army veteran who was killed in a shootout with police. The agency also says an ISIS flag and other explosives were found in the truck. Agents are asking the public for help to find any other potential leads, and there have been various questions about whether there may be others who have been involved in this. Officials say their case is very active, and they still are clearing the crime scene tonight there. Let me go to Tom Yamas right now, who has been watching along with us from New Orleans. Tom, what's the status of things now?
Lester, good evening. Well, I want to show our viewers where this all happened. It happened just behind me there in the corner. The alleged terrorist drove his pickup truck right through here. He jumped the curb, getting around a police cruiser, and then hit Bourbon Street and went 3 blocks straight. His pickup truck was not his only weapon. He also had at least 1 firearm and also an explosive device. He drove for 3 blocks, Lester, and imagine this, 3 a.m., Bourbon Street, New Year's Day. It was packed with revelers. He killed at least 15 people so far. That number is expected to grow, possibly because several people right now are fighting for their lives inside of New Orleans hospitals. When he crashes his car into a crane on Conti Street, again, which is 3 blocks up, he gets out and he gets into a shootout with police. Police were able to shoot and kill him, and that's where the investigation has begun from here. There are still some major questions, including why did he pick New Orleans? Why New Year's Day? One reason be the massive crowds that come here.
Right. Yeah, I guess if you're trying to target civilians, this is a place to go. It's just horrifying. It's just horrifying. And like someone said over here, you know, we don't even know necessarily what this man's grievances are. There's a claim that he had an ISIS flag in his pocket. I still haven't even seen it. But assuming that he is ISIS, this doesn't seem to target anybody who, you know, has any sort of policy making capabilities. These are just human civilians living their lives. Now, of course, Joe Biden came out 2 hours ago to make a statement regarding all of this, of course.
Our hearts are with the people of New Orleans after the despicable attack that occurred in the early morning hours. The FBI has reported to me the killer was an American citizen, born in Texas. He served in the United States Army on active duty for many years. He also served in the Army Reserve until a few years ago. The FBI also reported to me mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid. and the investigation has a preliminary stage. Additionally, we're tracking the explosion of a Cybertruck outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas. Law enforcement and the intelligence community are investigating this as well, including whether there's any possible connection with the attack in New Orleans. Thus far, there's nothing to report on that score at this time. New Orleans is a place unlike any other place in the world. It's a city full of charm and joy. So many people around the world love New Orleans because of its history, its culture, and above all, its people. So I know, while this person committed a terrible assault on the city, the spirit of our New Orleans will never, never, never be defeated. It always will shine forth. We've seen that time and time again throughout its history, and I know we'll see it again in the days and weeks ahead.
Okay, thanks, Joe Biden. It's all very important information. If we didn't have Joe...
New York's Attorney General released this video on...
If we didn't have Joe, we would... I guess we would know all the stuff that he just said. But at least we had him to repeat it for us. That's the thing we can be thankful for on this New Year's Day. Or at least New Year's Day for some still. It is ending. It's almost the second day of the year. What was I just doing? That's right. I remember now. I need to open this window. Hopefully it doesn't cause us to start lagging. Yes, this. I need to keep the title properly amended. Alright, we're going to move on from the truck attacks. We're going to move on from them. Start talking about some government stuff. We'll try and have some fun in here. A little bit. Because it's still technically the holidays, but those holidays are coming to a close very quickly, people. You can see we've already taken down the disco ball and the laser lights. It's very sad. Soon the Hanukkah decorations and the Kwanzaa decorations, all of that will go. The 12 days of Christmas even are almost over. It's truly sad, but real. It's a real thing. Alright, let's start here. This is, well, not start. Let's get back to talking about non-truck attacks. But we aren't going to be not talking about horrifying things, I'm afraid. This came out, this video came out a couple of days ago. I'm going to give you all a warning. This is, like, this one's really rough. Like, that last one was really rough to watch, too. This is similarly rough, I would say, in many ways. But a video has come out from inside a prison, body cam video and security cam video showing the assault of a prisoner which led to his death, which is now being investigated by the Attorney General of New York.
New York's Attorney General released this video on Friday, showing the beating of 43-year-old inmate Robert Brooks on December the 9th at the Marcy Correctional Institution. His hands were cuffed behind his back. Brooks died the following morning. Although the officers present had not activated their body cams, half-an-hour footage was recorded in standby mode without audio.
I do not take lightly the release of this video, especially in the middle of the holiday season. But as Attorney General, I release these videos because I have a responsibility and duty to provide the Brooks family, their loved ones, and all New Yorkers with transparency and accountability.
13 correctional officers, sergeants, and a nurse are now under investigation.
Illegal.
One officer has since resigned, with the others suspended without pay as the inquiry continues. In a statement, the governor of New York expressed what she said was her shock. The state of New York, she wrote, has zero tolerance for individuals who break the law, and I am committed to holding everyone fully accountable. The Correctional Officers Union released a statement calling the beating incomprehensible. Yet watchdog groups say they've warned of institutional violence at New York's correctional facilities, quote, for centuries. Not only that, a report in 2023 specifically investigated this facility and found that 80% of inmates have witnessed or experienced abuse there, 70% racial discrimination.
Illegal.
And 4 of the officers involved are already defendants in other lawsuits alleging abuse of prisoners, with 2 accused of being members of a so-called beat-up squad at the prison that regularly brutalizes inmates.
Judging by their demeanor and kind of the way people are milling about it, seems really just like business as usual for them. You know, no one seems like there's a rage or shock about what's going on. And it's just, to me, makes me fearful about what else goes on, has gone on inside that prison, kind of on a routine basis.
Yet again, authorities in New York will be tested as to whether they're serious about rooting out what's alleged to be.
It does not matter. That's the thing. We can't, we can't turn away from this just because it's, it exists inside of a prison, right? Like, it's got to be something that gets addressed and immediately. These guys all need to be charged with murder. That's, that's what do you call it? That is it's like a squad beating, right? There's another, I can't think of the word for this. There's like a colloquialism for what just happened. But it's, this was a extrajudicial killing. The death squad carried out by, someone saying fuck the police and chat. These guys aren't even police. They don't even have qualified immunity. If I'm not mistaken, police, you are as a as a civilian, I'm not this 100% on this, but if I'm not mistaken, prison guards are not police. I don't believe they have qualified immunity. I think there's a bunch of things that don't apply to these guys. Lynching's a good word for it. Not the one that I was looking for, but certainly a description of what just happened. And I know it's easy to be like, hey, this guy is a criminal. Like, it's not the same, but people are in prison. The being in prison doesn't mean like you're removed from society. You don't get to work. You don't get to see your kids, your family, or anything, or your friends. Right? You don't get to live your life the normal way. It doesn't mean that people just get to abuse you all day, right? Certainly not, And in a way, it makes it worse when it's tax funder paid abuse, right? Obviously, it doesn't make it better necessarily when prisoners abuse each other. But I guess my point is that, like, it's like you and I are somehow participating in it, right? Yeah, he died. Yeah, he died. Exactly, and you have human rights while you're in prison, right? Yeah, it's just a fucked up situation. Now while we're talking about the prison system, let's talk about those blanket pardons Donald Trump has been suggesting he's gonna do upon entering office.
They stormed the Capitol building in Donald Trump's assaulting police officers and threatening to kill the vice president.
2 pipe bombs and countless weapons were recovered, all part of a failed attempt to overturn the will of voters.
It was a day of love.
Since that day, more than 1,500 people have been charged. More than 1,200 have been convicted or pleaded
Most
guilty.
peaceful day.
Some are in prison on serious
No one ever
charges
seen
of
a
felony
better day
assault
on the
and
Capitol.
seditious conspiracy.
Will that be a blanket pardon? Does that include
Well, you'll find
everyone?
out, but it's going to go quickly.
Trump has promised to use the power of the pardon to potentially free all of the January 6th rioters as soon as his first day in office, effectively rewriting the history of what happened nearly 4 years ago.
His ability to pardon those others who put in motion the process to disrupt the joint session and prevent the transfer of power, again, would be a huge defeat for the rule of law and move us a step farther from accountability.
It's a particularly glaring use of power because Trump would be pardoning people who are in fact his alleged co-conspirators in a plot to overturn the election. Legal experts warn the promise alone sets a frightening precedent about a president's willingness to flaunt the law.
I think it sends a message that in the future, if the president wants anything, he will preemptively pardon anyone carrying out his wishes because he cares more about people following his wishes than he does whatever legal rules they might be breaking.
When when this guy says it like that, am I the only person that gets sort of like a Trumpian Oprah impersonation like in their head? You get a pardon, and you get a pardon, and you get a pardon. Everybody in the room gets a pardon. Look under your seat. What is it? It's a pardon. Great job, everybody. Great job.
Yet Trump isn't stopping there, with Republicans openly signaling their intent to go after those who investigated the January 6th attack, suggesting former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney should herself be investigated and prosecuted for her work on the January 6th committee. Trump has said that other members of the committee should go to jail.
There's nothing we did as a January 6th select committee that violates the law.
Promising vengeance is one thing, whether Trump actually acts is another. It seems all but certain he will use the first hours of his presidency to signal how far he's willing to go, potentially testing the American system in ways it has never been tested before. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
Okay. We got more stuff to talk about.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support.
We got more stuff to talk about. That's really our segment on Donald Trump's war on the justice system, which is coming in hot. Because he says he's going to do it in the first minutes of his presidency. He's going to start pardoning just a slew of people. But he's also been already, for many years, honestly, waging a war on the press. And has been, honestly, getting better and better at it, seemingly. More and more people seem to be getting in line for it. That much I know for sure. We've been talking about that.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We end today's show looking at Donald Trump's renewed war on the press. The press, which he's often called the enemy of the people. Trump recently sued the Des Moines Register, its parent company Gannett, and the pollster Ann Seltzer for publishing a poll before the election that showed him trailing Kamala Harris in Iowa. While Trump ended up easily winning Iowa, he's now accusing the paper of committing, quote, brazen election interference, unquote. Trump laid out his plans to target the Des Moines Register and other news outlets during
brazen election interference. Your numbers are wrong.
I shouldn't really be the one to do it. It should have been the Justice Department or somebody else, but I have to do it. It costs a lot of money to do it, but we have to straighten out the press. Our press is very corrupt, almost as corrupt as our elections.
Trump's lawsuit against the Des Moines Register came just days after ABC News, which is owned by Disney, settled a defamation lawsuit filed by the president-elect. The network agreed to donate $15 million to Trump's presidential library and pay $1 million in legal fees to Trump's lawyer. Trump sued ABC after its anchor, George Stephanopoulos, said Trump was found liable for rape in a 2023 civil case in Manhattan brought by writer E. Jean Carroll. ABC has been widely criticized for agreeing to settle instead of going to court to fight what many believe to be a winnable case. The prominent attorney Mark Elias responded to the settlement by writing, "Knee bent, ring kissed, another legacy news outlet chooses obedience."
Seriously, though. They are, and it's not just the press. It's been the tech companies as well, the billionaires that run them, specifically Jeffy Bezos, you know, Tim Cook over there. They all showed up to Mar-a-Lago in a little line. It's gross.
Don't be creepy. Gonzalez and I recently spoke to Chris Lehman, D.C. bureau chief for The Nation, who wrote an article headlined, "Trump's attack on the free press is just getting started." I started out by asking
I just realized
Chris
I forgot to give you your support characters.
What's happening?
That's fucked up.
What's happening is a very clear pattern in Trump's public life. It actually well antedates his rise to political power. He made a practice of frequently going after journalists for defamation. He famously sued one of his biographers who wrote in his this biography that Trump did not qualify as a billionaire. Illegal. In his subsequent deposition, Trump basically said he was a billionaire because he felt like a billionaire. This is a long-standing pattern of just intimidation of the press, and Trump was very open as a private business person that was his aim. He wanted to exert a chilling effect on people doing critical reporting from him. Now, of course, he has the awesome power, the federal government behind him, or prospectively behind him, and ABC disgracefully capitulated right away, and the Des Moines Register suit is a clear augur of what's lying ahead. At the Mar-a-Lago conference you mentioned, Trump also threatened to sue Washington Post reporter Bob Woodward, the Pulitzer Peace Prize committee for these, alleged offenses against basically Trump's bottomless vanity. So by capitulating, sort of preemptively the way ABC has,
let me get ahead of this.
Set the stage for a torrent of similar suits like this.
Seriously, where are the backbones of the media corporations, the journalists, the supposed journalists? Where did they all go? Part of the problem is that we allowed some of these institutions to be bought up by billionaires like Jeff Bezos. It's one of the main problems. Not the only one, because some of these people have plenty of ABC. Come on, ABC doesn't have money? Get out of here. Oh God, is this what's next? Oh no. Oh no. Not good. Not good. Good for us. Not good for one person in particular. It's time. It is time for us to get to a very interesting point in this here Spacecast. I found a very interesting video. Wouldn't have found it without the help of Kyle Kalinske. But wow. Shocking. Breaking news. Laura Loomer had an epiphany. Live. On a live stream. She realized some stuff. Fascinating realizations here from Miss Loomer. Let's get into this one.
All right, guys, what you're about to see here can only be described as glorious. Every now and then, there's a moment where some right-winger, some MAGA member, doesn't even recognize it, but they basically admit, like, yeah, the left-wingers were right all along, right? And they're not with it enough mentally to understand that that's what they're doing, is they're admitting the other side was right. But this is just such a beautiful example of it here that, you know, I'm sure if you show this back to Laura Loomer and explain to her, you do realize you just admitted lefties were correct all along, right? I don't even think she could deny it. So let's start with this one. I got a couple clips of hers. Here she is talking to Eric Bolling. Here we go.
Are you surprised we haven't heard from any of these folks in Trump world right now? You know, Steve, these people are on Fox a lot. Stephen's a good friend of mine. Stephen Miller used to come on my show once.
Such a good guy, that Stephen Miller.
I'm very close. And I text him, and ominously, I haven't heard back. So
what is up with this guy?
Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow.
Is it just me, or does this guy look like a youth pastor who secretly goes to a bunch of, like, you know, sex parties?
For a billionaire to make a $200 million donation. And so maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country.
Say it one more time. Say it louder for everybody in the back.
Yeah, what was that again?
The core of left-wing politics since day one actually is completely true.
Yeah. I'm going to need a replay of that, please.
Oh, would you look at that?
Can we go back?
In other words, the core issue is not any of the horse shit that people...
God damn it, Kyle. I need to hear it again. Why are you still tee-hee-heeing? We need this.
I'm very close. And I text them, and ominously, I haven't heard back. So I'm not sure where they are. Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow for a billionaire to make a $200 million donation. So maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country.
Yes, she's
Say it
right.
one more time. Say it louder
She's
for
right.
everybody in the back.
She's right. My God.
The core of left-wing politics
Laura
since day
Loomer.
one actually is completely true.
Laura Loomer.
Oh, would you look at that? Oh, would you look at that? In other words, the core issue is not any of the horse shit that people on the right like to pretend
This is shocking.
is the core issue. Usually they go to immigration first and foremost, right? Immigrants are the reason your life sucks. You know, immigrants are screwing you over. Trans people are screwing you over. This is the core of right-wing politics in the year 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. In the year 2025, right? But guess what? This is a sly admission. Maybe the actual core of the problem is robber baron billionaires controlling our entire political system and rigging it in favor of them and against you. Huh. You don't say. You don't say. Interesting, Laura.
Is it possible they've been told to stand down?
Well, I think that this is the problem. This is the problem when you allow for a billionaire to make a $200 million donation. And so maybe we really do need to have campaign finance regulations in this country. I mean, essentially what is happening, and I love President Trump. I'm not saying that President Trump is bought and paid for, but
oh my God, I love it.
No.
Oh my God, laser it in
I'm
my
not
brain.
saying
Yes,
that he's bought
yes.
and paid for, but
I'm not saying Trump is a sell.
That's the same sort of vibe they use when they're like, I'm trying to like when they accuse people of things without any sort of like evidence, like that's the same sort of vibe that they use, but but she's trying to, you know, like say it without saying it type of deal. You know what I mean? Like to avoid any sort of like legal liability type of verbiage she's using here. That's the vibes I'm getting. She's like, I'm not saying. It was like, I know that I've gotten to ride. I don't want to lose my my VIP pass to Trump Force One, but
I'm not saying Trump is bought and paid for, but hit me with it one more. But
yeah.
That but one more time.
That's actually much better. Thank you, Winston. This is exactly what it is. It's like whenever they, it's like when Republicans are like, I'm not trying to be racist. I'm not a racist, but I've got something to say. Please prepare to power through this with me.
That is the biggest but. I won't make any more jokes, but there are many I could make. Here we go. Let's keep going.
It sounds like people are scared of crossing the king of the world.
Oh, no.
Monarch, okay?
That is
Nobody wants to
not
cross
right.
this guy, the richest man in the world who controls access to social media, the digital Times Square, and is now basically has everybody in a codependent, abusive relationship like they're a bunch of junkies, because he's been able to monetize the platform so that all the conservatives using his platform are essentially addicted. They're a bunch of addicts now, addicted to social media because their voices were silenced for so long. And it's like cutting a junkie off cold turkey. Okay, you're going to go crazy and you're going to have withdrawals. And he understands now that he's created this codependent junkie versus supplier relationship where if you question or if you try to criticize.
Wait. Elon Musk is somehow... you're telling me the private ownership of a social media company bad? Elon Musk bad? Donald Trump bad? What's happening?
Illegal. Elon Musk, you will be demonetized.
Wow. Hey, by the way, Laura and everybody else on the right, where the hell were you when it was the night of the long knives for journalists who were critical of Elon when he bought the platform early on? Where were you to defend Ken Klippenstein when he got banned for sharing the J.D. Vance dossier, which is incredibly analogous to what happened under Jack when the Hunter Biden laptop story, when that was censored? Literally, completely and utterly 100% analogous. You have Ken Klippenstein release the J.D. Vance dossier, Elon drops the hammer on him, fucking crickets on the right, or outright support for Elon Musk and what he did. How about when Elon banned the Elon Jet account, which was not doxing because it was all publicly available information.
I don't want
he banned that. And how about when he banned all the journalists who reported on the fight between the Elon Jet account and Elon himself? Where were you then? Where were you then? So when Elon's banning the people you guys don't like, www.shh.com, right? But when oh my God, look, now he's banning Groypers, the Nick Fuentes followers.
Oh God.
And is he banning them because they're flat out pro-Nazi? No. They've always been pro-Nazi. That was fine. He would even signal boost some outright Nazi content on Twitter.
Never occurred to me.
The reason he banned him is because they disagreed with him on his H-1B visas. They crossed him. And Laura lost her verification check. Others on the right, critical of Elon, lost their verification check, lost their ability to monetize on X. Well, what do you know? Turns out the lefties were right all along. Turns out the lefties were correct all along, but we're not done yet. We got more Laura Loomer, more admissions that turns out the left is actually right about everything.
No,
and what we
more.
need to have a conversation about is what is it going to mean for the future of our country, our national security, and the incoming Trump administration if we have a bunch of technocrats who are also essentially welfare queens because their companies are receiving government subsidies and they want to take over our defense industry.
I'm low-key convinced that a bunch of right-wingers on Twitter now, after seeing...
Not the technocrats. Horrifying. They're taking over? Really? Can't believe it.
Elon burn everybody and burn the country. Now they're like plagiarizing the stuff I say. Right? Who was the first one to...
I don't know. I can't be sure. Kyle. Who was the first one? I know I've been talking about it quite a lot. It's fascinating, though. Laura coming to all sorts of fascinating conclusions here. Realizations about the world around us. Somehow Somehow it's been taken over by technocrats. Yeah, weird. Weird how somebody can, you know, donate hundreds of millions of dollars like it's a $20 bill in their wallet. And then get a new government agency made for them by a man who just... who is already a billionaire and owned a tech company himself. Don't forget, Troth Essential on the Stuck a Change. Oh my god. What a special world that we are living in right now. So special. I guess we're gonna have Laura Loomer moving over to BreadTube now. She's gonna be doing socialist-based content from now on and criticizing the oligarchy. That should be fascinating. I wonder if Donald Trump will let her hang out at Mar-a-Lago anymore. Might be it. That might be it. You're off the team, Laura. No more free trips on Trump Force One for you. You're gonna have to take coach, maybe the bus. Okay. You know what? I forgot to do that. I should do that. Alright. That's it for Laura. That's it for Laura. It's a fascinating epiphany she's had. Fascinating epiphany. Let's do this video now, I guess. By the way, if you haven't already, remember to hit like and subscribe while you're watching the video. You know why? Because it helps. And in a way, it helps you because it makes all of this better. Don't ask me to explain it any more than that. That's too much. That's too much.
That's too much, man!
Can't do that. Can't do that. Alright. What next? Yes, let's do the best and worst tweets of 2024. There were a lot of them out there. There certainly were. We've got a guide. We've got a guide for the best and worst tweets of 2024. Somebody who spends a lot of time on the Twitterverse, Twitter sphere, Twitter. I don't know. I don't have any more.
We have some breaking news just into CNN.
Oh no, this is too sad. And this happened in 2024. That's a 2024 news bit. Whoa. What is this?
But has been ovulating since she was 12 and a half.
What is this?
Here, let's get started overall with like thought cataloging, fave tweets of 2024 from Turkish Airlines booking agent. Whitlock inadvertently exposing his web surfing habits. I'm looking at NFL standings on ESPN.com. This is the ad running above the standings. How is this possible? How is this appropriate? Balls deep inside of me is a great way to spend your birthday. Funny happy birthday, him, husband, boyfriend, birthday gifts, decorations. That's not even that bad. Usually when these guys get got, oftentimes it's like gay shit. They'll be like, why are there gay ads on my Veterans Affairs website? And it's like, yeah, because you're looking at gay shit. It's your cookies. Pathetic sniveling. I love you. Several years ago, I wrote a long email inviting your wife, Neri Oxman, on my show. I had watched her TED Talk and thought that given my evolutionary-based research, we'd have tons to talk about. I never received a reply, which would have been minimally courteous. Cheers.
Ah.
Funny, you say this. I wrote an email to you and never got a reply.
Damn.
When the Raptors put MLK in their crosshairs, oh my God.
Whoa.
That's great.
Whoa.
That's incredible.
Whoa.
Incredible
Come
moves.
on.
Keep it up. This was great. I remember this one. This is what the world looked like before mass immigration, widespread racial and gendered guilt activism, and before bankers had totally screwed the economy for their own gain. People were just allowed to be themselves, and they did fun, wholesome things for their own sake. The quote retweet is just smooth criminal alien ant farm, which is a banger, objectively. Has nothing to do with whatever the this dipshit is talking about. It's really funny that these guys actively would be like, why are you making everything political? Like, this is how they ran for years and years, saying everyone is an SJW. SJWs love making everything political, and then now they just do that. They do that all the time, and they've never stopped doing that, really. This is the kind of whimsical take I miss. Was rare this year. Teaching kids thank you is weird. Saying thank you because you were taught to, not because you're thankful, is weird. Saying something you don't mean and you
Stop
don't
being
know
so weird,
why
children.
you're saying it is weird. I'm gonna say something somewhat controversial or a hot take. These types of tweets from the one friend who's too woke used to be some of the best bangers on this website, and now they are all on Blue Sky, contained far away from the rest of us, and it makes me sad because tweets like this used to
has
be,
Hassan not
used to
moved
make,
over to
like,
Blue
random
Sky yet?
individuals the woke of the day or the main character of the day, and it would dominate the website's discourse for like a couple days. Now, all of the Nazis are so goddamn annoying and so in your face that, one, they ran these guys out of the website, and number two, there's nothing in the algorithm that allows you to push statements like this out there. And I like it. I like stuff like this. I enjoy stuff like this. I wonder what oh God, Palmer Lucky. I wonder what the world would look like if every man was expected, perhaps even required, to set a world record, to prove themselves or something of their creation, the best at something as a baseline for respect and recognition as a man. What is Palmer Lucky's baseline? Being a gross little freak. This is the classic. Yeah,
world
this is
record?
like the best. Anyways, y'all don't know what this means. Don't buy any Kellogg's products. Stand in solidarity with Kellogg's workers and don't cross.
How would that even work? I'm broken by that one. How does that even work out? How would that even work out? Like, there's what? If there's there's like roughly 8 billion people on the planet, 4 billion men. That would mean that 4 billion world records would have to be set within, I don't know, 60, maybe more than that, because people are dying and being born all the time. We're talking about billions of world records being set over and over and over again. What would even be the point of it at that point? It sounds just terrible.
Recognition as a man. What is Palmer Lucky's baseline? Being a gross little freak. This is the classic. Yeah, this is like the best. Anyways, y'all don't know what this means. Don't buy any Kellogg's products. Stand in solidarity with Kellogg's workers and don't cross the picket line no matter what. Hi, someone with heavy food sensory issues here. Frosted mini wheats are one of the only things I can actually consume regularly and not get sick from. Guilting people who can't support boycotts is ableist as but y'all aren't ready for that conversation. This tweet lives in my brain permanently. It's perfect. It's wreckers. It's shallow identity politics. It's the utilization of emancipatory language in an effort to be narcissistic and become the center of attention. It's something that you did not need to let people know and you could have just like quietly continued doing. It's amazing. It's perfect. It's chef's kisses all around. Most of the outwoking competitions on Twitter can just be reduced to, what about me? Hey, have you guys thought about me lately?
Jesus Christ.
So much of these conversations basically revolve around like people wanting to be the center of attention, and they use emancipatory language. And also, we on the left, we that want to be progressive, do not have a way of like analyzing statements like that with the critical lens that it deserves. So we automatically assume, oh, they're saying the right words. They're saying the right words, so they must have a valid claim. People freaking out about Barbie not winning enough Oscars. Hillary never.
I feel like Hassan's job is just roasting the internet. He just like that's what his job is. If it's not his comment section that he's actively roasting or shitting on, it's Twitter. He's just going through random sections of Twitter to shit on people. So fucked.
An opportunity to girl boss. Maybe this is an oversimplification, but Ryan Gosling being nominated but not Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig perfectly explains to me why we
Hassan
aren't in the
said
8th
that
year
he
of Hillary
needs
Clinton's
new people to
presidency.
argue with. I
oh
believe
my
that.
God.
I
Greta
believe
and
that. I didn't
Margot,
hear that,
while
but
it can
that
sting
sounds
to win the box
that
office
sounds
but not
true.
take home the gold, your millions of fans love you. You're both so much more than Knuff. Hashtag Hillary Barbie.
Call me
I'm so sick
unskeptical,
of
but
running
that
as fast as
sounds
I can,
true.
wondering if I'd get there quicker if I was a man. You know, I'm going to get a little political here, excuse me, but this is yet another instance of like valid systemic problems, valid systemic critique, only being approached from the lens of a hyper narrow consumer focused cultural attitude. Do women have a harder time?
I think part of the problem is like none of the. I feel like most of the right wingers don't even want to argue with Hassan, right? Like I think that's part of his problem. Like he can't seem to find any right wingers because I think they're all worried that he's going to beat them up after it, right? If they say the wrong thing, he's just going to beat them up. And they can't all afford bodyguards, so basically any of the ones that could, he's already gone through. They don't want to argue with him anymore, and you know, leftists don't want to be seen getting shredded by Hassan, by basically everyone on the internet.
Ahead in a patriarchal society? Absolutely. Are there structural limiters or structural hurdles that are sometimes even invisible, or rather, even if it's not invisible, especially if you're a woman, invisible to men that men simply don't understand and can't empathize with? Absolutely. Having that conversation within the framework of the Barbie movie not receiving enough Oscars, excellent. Americans have two speeds, dude. Burger.
Because like, here's the thing. I don't agree with Hassan all the time, but the fact is, he's a talker. The guy is a talker. It's been his job ever since he was an adult. He started on TYT a long time ago, before he became the biggest streamer on the planet. And even when he says wrong things, he says it in a funny and likable way. And it's like, it's tough to argue with the guy, I think, for most people. Well, there we go. There's some of Hassan's takes on the worst tweets of 2024. Now let's talk about a disturbing story here. Democracy Now! Has been covering. Here's a guy we don't talk about very much. Ronan Farrow. That's right. He popped up out of nowhere with a shocking story about surveillance technology.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Juan Gonzalez. We return to our conversation with filmmaker Matthew O'Neill and Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Ronan Farrow about their HBO documentary Surveil that's now streaming on Max. The film looks at the dangers of spyware like Pegasus, which was developed by the Israeli firm NSO.
Given the fact that Israeli industry has become such a main source of this surveillance technology, do you have any indication that it's basically United States military funding that goes to Israel, that government then contracts with its own so-called private companies to develop this technology?
In an attenuated way, there absolutely is that flow of resources. Israel has become a cradle for innovation in this kind of technology for a combination of reasons. I mean, Tel Aviv is a center of tech innovation in general. They have a great pool of tech talent. And Israel is set up in a very specific way where there's mandatory military service. People at a pretty early time in their careers go into government, military, and intelligence units. And then also pretty early in in their lives and careers, they come out of that service and they apply those skills and that knowledge in the private industry. So you have companies like NSO Group and companies like Black Cube that Amy mentioned that do more traditional human intelligence operations that have all of these resources directly from a government that is, of course, as you point out, supported largely by the United States and its military aid. So a lot of these solutions are Israeli as a result of all of those factors.
How much does Israel target Palestinians? We've talked with reporters like Yuval Abraham from 972, who exposed Lavender and Where's Daddy, where they follow people home, Palestinians in Gaza. Of course, we know about the exploding beepers and phones in Lebanon. And then I want to ask, did you ultimately take down the head of NSO Group, which makes Pegasus?
So first of all, on this question of targeting Palestinians, the reporting suggests, yes, there have been a number of documented cases of spyware technology being found on the phones of Palestinian activists, politicians. We talked to a Palestinian former Knesset member, politician in the film, who puts forward the theory that Israel essentially uses the Palestinian populations as a laboratory for this technology. And one of the reasons why private spyware companies thrive in Israel is that in addition to the Israeli government's internal, very robust capacity for this kind of espionage, there's always a demand for more of this kind of tech, including from private vendors, to deploy in the conflict that surrounds Israel at all times. Because they are a highly militarized state beset by all of these existential threats, and especially now in this state of conflict, there is just always a context in which to apply and refine this technology. And there has been additional reporting that in this most recent conflict as well, there's been a deployment of Pegasus in an effort to try to track hostages. Now, of course, there's controversy within Israel. People see
Pegasus is such a fun-sounding name. I don't know why they had to pick something like that.
intelligence failures around this latest conflict, and
they could have picked something more
right-wingers who in that country say, well, there should be more use of this technology. But certainly to your question, people who care about the agony of Palestinians right now, I think should be aware that this technology has wormed its way into this conflict, and that this conflict has reinforced the development of this technology. To your question about the leadership of NSO Group, I would not say that I took out the head of NSO. The head of NSO was, as we acknowledge openly in this film, a source of mine. He did depart that company amidst a lot of the scandals. The company was very embattled, and then there was a leadership change. The reporting of a whole consortium of international publications, a lot of different outlets, I think, contributed to those scandals. I would say the foremost player in disclosing information about this company was the watchdog group that we track in the film, Citizen Lab.
Okay, there we go. You're pretty sure his dad is Frank Sinatra. Is it? I honestly have no idea who Frank's. That's fair. That's fair.
Growing again into a new world of music. And that reminds me of those first class.
Well, I hope you're all enjoying the show so far. If you haven't already, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Once you've done those two things, do consider becoming a patron or contributor in any sort of way here on the Galactic News Network. We got all the great ways to do that, of course: YouTube, Twitch, Cash App, PayPal, and Patreon.
It all blends together.
So help keep the Galactic News Network alive and contribute.
The spirit of
Well, there you go, people. There you go. On the final night of Kwanzaa, get a little excerpt from the musical named Umoja, a Swahili word meaning togetherness, and one of the principles of Kwanzaa. I hope you enjoyed it. Alrighty, what else do we have next to do? Let's talk environmental stuff. We're also going to talk some tech stuff as we transition into all of that. You thought this was We're Blending from that? I don't know what that movie. I have no idea what movie that is. Sorry. First day of 2025. Yep. started off kind of rough so far. Trying to make sense of things. All right, let's go here.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We look now at the influence of Silicon Valley and the tech billionaires in the incoming Trump administration as tech companies line up to support the president-elect, a major difference from his first term. Tech billionaire Elon Musk is one of Trump's closest advisors. Earlier this month, he was there when Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos had dinner with Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg had dinner at Mar-a-Lago last month. Amazon, Meta, and OpenAI's Sam Altman have all announced donations of $1 million each to Trump's inaugural committee. This comes as Trump chose tech execs Scott Kapoor and Sriram Krishnan for key roles this week. They'll likely work closely with another tech executive, David Sachs, who Trump has picked to be czar of crypto and artificial intelligence. As we reported earlier, Trump on Sunday also tapped billionaire tech investor Ken Howry as U.S. ambassador to Denmark. Howry co-founded PayPal with Max Levchin, Luke Nosek, Peter Thiel, and Elon Musk. For more, we're joined by longtime Silicon Valley venture capitalist Roger McNamee, author of Zucked, Waking Up to the Facebook Catastrophe. He had a 34-year career in Silicon Valley, was an early investor in Facebook. Welcome back to Democracy Now!, Roger. Thanks so much for waking up for this program. If you can start off by talking about what you think it's most important for people to understand about what Elon Musk, what people are calling President Musk, being in charge just last week, leading off the crisis of whether the government would shut down, making billions since the election as he poured millions or $250 million into Trump's victory.
So, Amy, I think there are two things that stand at the top of the list of all Silicon Valley executives right now. The first thing is they all want tax cuts. These are billionaires. They don't want to pay taxes on their wealth. The second issue, though, relates to their products. Tech has undergone a massive transformation culturally. It used to be about empowerment. It used to be about productivity. But for the last 15 years, the industry has been increasingly adversarial with their customers as they have tried to deploy increasingly authoritarian technologies into the marketplace. And they have put David Sachs in charge of the two that are the leading edge right now, which is to say cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. And the thing that makes me really sad as someone who spent the last 8 years warning about the threat from Silicon Valley is that we're going to see a massive, uncontrolled experiment on the American population. And I have absolutely no idea how this is going to turn out.
So they are clearly extremely interested in tax cuts and deregulation. Can you talk about the significance of this, what this means for the health of the nation?
So Amy, I think here's the fundamental challenge, that Americans for too long have trusted Silicon Valley. You know, for 50 years, the products that came out of the Valley made us more capable. They made us more productive. That is no longer the case. And we have maintained this increasingly tight relationship with technology products, essentially treating everything new as though it would automatically be better than what came before. That has not been the case since the iPhone was introduced in 2007. And so
yep, that's the horrifying slide into shitification we have been living in, which is basically just funding billionaire lifestyles and not improving a whole lot for us, but it is making them phenomenally wealthy. So there is that benefit. It's pretty exciting. Let's see here. Let's go here. Al Jazeera English from 5 days ago. A discussion on whether or not AI will drive explosive economic growth, or is it just hype?
Hello, I'm Adrian Finnegan, and this is Counting the Cost on Al Jazeera, your weekly look at the world of business and economics. This week, it's seen as a game changer, but critics say artificial intelligence is just hype. So will AI drive explosive growth, or will it disrupt economies and cost workers their jobs? AI technology is costly, but tech companies are pouring billions of dollars into it. Will the investment pay off? And just how important will AI be to a business's bottom line? And the UN says the need for global regulation of AI is irrefutable. It warns that if the industry is left ungoverned, its benefits could be limited to a handful of states and companies. Almost $1 trillion. That's how much tech companies are estimated to be spending on building up the artificial intelligence industry over the coming years. Supporters of the technology say that AI will increase productivity, boost incomes, and revolutionize the global economy. But with the excitement surrounding the potential of artificial intelligence comes alarm. A growing number of investors worry that AI won't deliver the huge profits they seek, at least not in the foreseeable future. And critics warn that AI could replace human jobs and deepen inequality. Calls are growing for regulators to come up with policies to leverage the potential of AI for the benefit of all humanity. Fintan Monahan reports.
The hype around artificial intelligence has created high expectations. JP Morgan predicts that it will eventually add as much as 17% to the US economy. And many industry insiders have hailed it as a revolution that will change the world forever.
It has huge transformative potential, like akin to what the steam engine did for physical labor. It took loads off
of course,
the backs of humans, off the backs of the animals that we used to have plow our fields and put it onto.
This guy's not at all biased on this. What's Aidan Gomez, CEO of AI company Cohere, has no particular opinion on all of this.
It's off the backs of humans, off the backs of the animals that we used to have plow our fields and put it onto machinery. I think that's a good analogy to what these large language models are going to do to intellectual labor.
But so far, that change hasn't quite materialized. Businesses have had mixed results. Some case studies have shown productivity gains, while others dropped their AI services altogether, saying it wasn't worth the cost. Some critics have called it a bubble. They question whether generative AI is currently up to performing complex tasks.
They're good at doing certain things very well, like translation, sorting. They're very good at pattern recognition of human faces. Humans are still infinitely better at that. I think it's incredibly overhyped.
But talk from skeptics hasn't stopped huge amounts of money from flowing into AI. Venture capitalists have invested more than $60 billion this year. On top of that, big tech firms like Amazon, Microsoft, Alphabet, and Meta are each estimated to have spent between $30 and $60 billion. Analysts estimate that returns are still dwarfed by expenditures, but firms believe they must secure a slice of the market or be left behind.
They're spending an insane amount of money
curve
for
like
all
this
right now.
The risk of underinvesting is dramatically greater than the risk of overinvesting for us here.
In the short term,
Thank
AI
God we
faces
have him here
obstacles
for us.
and opportunities. Costs to the consumer appear to be going down. The latest models from Google and OpenAI are both faster and cheaper than their predecessors. But governments across the world are also debating how to regulate AI, and it's unclear what impact these regulations will have on business. Some analysts say AI won't have a measurable impact on national economies until 2027. So perhaps time is what will make the difference, and reveal if AI
won't have a measurable effect. It's already having a measurable effect. All of the money is being funneled into the AI space right now. That's a measurable effect. A massive amount of money is being funneled into companies like Nvidia. Company that basically nobody knew the name of until a couple of years ago. There's a measurable effect. Companies are trying to install it into every aspect of our lives. There's a measurable effect. I mean, it all depends on what you want to call a measurable effect. Right? People are being affected by these technologies already. Your search has been completely infected by it. Your iPhone may be infected by it. You know, all sorts of places just keep adding in AI resources for you to enjoy, even if they don't work. You get to be the test rat. That's exciting, right? Are you excited for that? I'm excited for that. I love being a test rat, especially an unpaid test rat. That's my favorite. I like going, and it's even better when I get to be pay to be a test rat. You know, when you buy a product and it comes with AI and it's like, we're going to test some stuff on you. Enjoy. All right, let's keep talking about tech, but let's talk about this strange concern.
We turn now to the second of two stories about the growth of offshore wind farms and the questions surrounding their impact. Science correspondent Miles O'Brien takes us to New Bedford, Massachusetts, where local officials are trying to find a balance between greener renewable energy and the potential impact on the critical fishing industry in that region.
In the early 19th century, New Bedford, Massachusetts was one of the wealthiest cities in the country because of a grim industry. It was the whaling capital of the world. The oil produced from the carcasses lit the eastern seaboard before the transition to fossil fuels.
This city, ironically, is on the cusp of being a center of energy once again. This time, the resource is blowing in the wind.
The tall pylons at the Marine Commerce Terminal are the most conspicuous features in an evolving harbor, an economic transition spurred by the energy transition. There are cranes everywhere.
You're really remaking this port, aren't you?
Yeah, we really are.
This is pretty significant.
Mayor John Mitchell took me on a cruise around the harbor.
You got construction all up and down this harbor. So what's the total dollar amount right now?
It's about $1.1 billion.
Would that have happened without wind?
A lot of it wouldn't. In fact, most of it would not. What we're doing is playing to our advantages. That's what you see here.
The mayor is on a political tightrope. The wind industry that he's been courting for a dozen years is caught in a net of opposition from the economic engine that has propelled New Bedford for the last century.
We don't know, are my scallops that I harvest now going to be there in 20 years in the same spot that they've always been?
Cassie Canastra and her family run the largest fish auction on the U.S. East Coast. About 70% of all the scallops that land on your plate first land here. The largest scallops can fetch about $20 a pound, and there are eager buyers for every last morsel.
Scallops are just such a high-value product. That's like the biggest resource we have coming in through the harbor, so I think that just is what made us such a lucrative port.
New Bedford is the most lucrative fishing port in the U.S., but scalloper Eric Hansen is very wary of what may lie ahead.
In raising your concern now, you're trying to get out ahead of this? Is that the idea?
Get out ahead is an interesting way to say it. I envision that we have a bunch of steamrollers coming to steamroll our fishery, and we're just trying to steer them. I don't think we can stop them.
He's asking the wind industry to slow down, to allow some time for scientists to do some solid research to try and uncover the unintended consequences of wind farms in the ocean.
So it's obviously super loud here.
That's what this racket is all about.
What we're doing is basically measuring how animals are responding to the sound.
Aaron Mooney is a marine biologist at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution, which is where I met him as he was pile driving for data. Beneath the surface, flounder, lobsters, and scallops, bottom dwellers, are getting blasted with a lot of noise to see how they respond.
We have actually cameras and sensors on animals under this water as we sort of measure their behavior and their physiological sort of responses to this.
The sensors they attach to the fish record their movement during the jarring noises. In the lab, he showed me how they work. They contain small accelerometers and magnetometers to capture the motion.
What is the hardware all about?
So we have basically this custom-built tag that we have for. So this is kind of like a little scalp Fitbit. On the back here is just
Scallop Fitbit.
Yeah, a scalp Fitbit. So
hilarious.
It allows us to get the movement patterns, the energetics of the scallop.
They've been conducting tests like these for 3 years. They started with squid and black sea bass.
Can we say for certain that it causes stress in these animals?
So it really depends on which species and the context that they're in.
And what they're doing.
So resting squid were very sensitive to the sound. Mating squid couldn't care less.
Scallops close tight each time a pile driver strikes.
Those responses, repeated again over hours and days, could be really stressful to the animals. So we think that may tire them out and make them more susceptible to predation.
The pedestals that wind turbines sit on are 30 feet in diameter, and each requires about 2 hours of pile driving to be firmly planted in the seafloor. The Biden administration's goal of 30 gigawatts of offshore wind equates to about 2,500 turbines. Mooney is hopeful his work will lead to a more informed construction strategy. Things like limiting pile driving to when squid are mating, avoiding scallop beds, and ramping up the sound gradually.
At the beginning of a day, start with a low amplitude sound and then just increase.
Now, this sort of construction method is used in all sorts of other stuff, right? It's not just the construction of windmills, right? It's basically all the underwater stuff requires loud noises to happen
Over the course of, a few minutes. And so you kind of give those animals a warning that that's coming.
There are a lot of missing pieces to this puzzle. 27 miles off the coast of Virginia Beach, Brendan Rundy is angling for answers.
I got one on, Cap.
He's a fisheries biologist with the Nature Conservancy. This is the site of the Coastal Virginia offshore wind farm. When complete, it will be the largest in the U.S. He and his team are catching sea bass and attaching acoustic tags to them.
This is the part that might be a little uncomfortable for some viewers.
The pinging signals they emit are captured by a few dozen acoustic receivers on the seafloor amid the turbines.
And those receivers are constantly listening for the very specific frequency that our tags are pinging.
The system allows him to track the fish. In addition, he has installed hydrophones to measure the underwater sound.
Awesome. Away she goes.
Comparing the spikes in decibels to the movement of the fish may fill in some blanks.
Maybe they'll hunker down near the seafloor, and if that does happen, how long does it last? Another possible response is that black sea bass and the other fish we're tagging might simply leave the area when pile driving happens.
But it's very likely they'll come back. Rundy says these fish are actually attracted to the turbines, which become artificial reefs.
The structure that's created by these offshore wind turbines is great habitat for a lot of different species. As a recreational fisherman, I, for one, am looking forward to having all of these structures.
Well, looky there. Sounds like once these things are in place, they become habitat for different species of fish rather than being a problem. And the benefit to humanity is certainly there as well. It's like a 2-for-1. Okay, let's go here. Here's a perhaps optimistic start to the year for you in the ocean.
A Santa Cruz man may write into the history books for taking on what could be the world's largest wave ever surfed. He caught the wave earlier this month near Half Moon Bay, and it's estimated it was 108 feet. Today, he talked with NBC Bay Area's Marianne Favreau about the ride of a lifetime.
The tiny figure you see beneath this gigantic wave is Aloe Sliber. A 23-year-old maneuvered through the Mavericks wave on a stormy day, December 23rd.
I didn't really know how big the wave was just due to the fact that every wave that day was gigantic. But there's this feeling as a surfer when you're going down the face of a wave, you're going so fast, and in that wave in particular, there was so much water coming off the reef that you could feel the board almost wanting to go backwards.
The wave was estimated to be 108 feet tall, about the size of an 11-story building.
My God.
Which would make it the largest wave ever surfed. The current world record is 86 feet. Jeff Clark, the pioneer of Mavericks, watched Aloe take on the watery beast.
Definitely the biggest wave I've seen at Mavericks since I started surfing there in 1975. It was amazing, the swell.
Aloe says he's been surfing Mavericks since he was 14 and was well aware of the risks.
You always prepare for the worst, but you always stay excited and full of adrenaline.
Well, there you go. Look at this guy here trying to break world records in the ocean. I guess everybody should do that, right? Remember that tweet? Oh my God. All right. What next? I'm going to try and keep it from being too sad right now. Keep this sort of try and keep it less sad. Let's talk about chasing our dreams.
Tigger is just like any other dog. She likes to play, get the ball, run around her yard, and chase squirrels. And on Sunday, Tigger was, at first, taking part in her favorite activities.
I went outside with her. She had been watching a squirrel, and she went to the spruce trees that it is normally in. And I walked away a bit, and then I turned around and she was gone.
Tigger's mom, Sasha Marks, thought her pet might have went to visit their neighbors. Instead,
I looked up and she was like 50 feet up in the tree that has always been there. She's never climbed it before, but that day she decided to.
The 1-year-old coonhound cross climbed the family's willow tree all on her own.
Wow.
But shortly after seeing Tigger in the tree, panic set in.
I was afraid of her falling. She's not a cat, so she wouldn't land on her feet. So,
with Mark's family away on a ski trip, she wasn't able to grab Tigger by herself. So she turned to first responders to rescue the dog that barked up the wrong tree.
When they came out and looked,
Oh, she's got jokes. Well played.
Yep, it's a dog in a tree. They were in a little bit of disbelief too.
The shocked firefighters snapped a few pictures of Air Bud, then got to work rescuing the pup.
She was very happy to be carried down the ladder.
Tigger wasn't hurt, just a little cold. But next time around.
Hilarious. Sometimes chasing your dreams goes awry, but in this case, nobody hurt. And, you know what? Perhaps it was worth it. Who's to say? We'd need to ask that dog. Alright, let's go to this. This was insane. 4 days ago. Completely months outside of tornado season. A tornado outbreak was reported in Texas.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us this Saturday. It's a stormy last weekend of 2024 and possibly a rough one for millions of Americans getting home from Christmas. This is Katy, Texas, as a new round of devastating tornadoes ripped from Texas to Georgia, and there's been at least one death so far. CBS's Katie Weiss is in Alexandria, Louisiana, about 3 hours northwest of New Orleans, and leads us off tonight in the bullseye of the storm. Katie.
Well, good evening, Jerika. Here in Alexandria, Louisiana, the storm has just hit us. The winds have picked up. The temperature has dropped. The lightning and thunder has intensified by the minute, really, and the rain has just been getting heavier and heavier. An outbreak of tornadoes is tearing through the south tonight.
That's just crazy. You can see some debris just flying around.
The severe weather thundering across Texas, pounding areas with high winds and large hail. Omar Godoy watched a tornado barrel towards his Houston home.
And we just started seeing debris just turning, and then out of nowhere you just see the funnel just come down and just touch ground.
This shit is insane.
Oh my God. This new round of powerful storms comes after more than 24 reported tornadoes struck communities in Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama since Christmas Day, damaging homes and other buildings and downing power lines.
That's all you hope for, all the neighbors and families being okay, especially around this time of the year. It's scary, but we survive.
Now, the severe weather is far from over. Residents across
Okay. Let's let's go to the... Oh, actually, there's one more video on the storm, which also wasn't just Texas. Apparently, it also hit Georgia.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us this Saturday. It's a stormy last weekend of 2024 and possibly a rough one for millions of Americans getting home from Christmas. This is Katy, Texas, as a new round of devastating...
Is this the same story? They upload the same story and just name it two different things? They did. I hate these people. I don't know why they do this to me. So this is in the UK, which was hit, as you can see, by a very serious storm, big wind, and rain. Northwest England was bearing the brunt of the rain on Wednesday morning, although Met Office weather warnings were in place across large parts of England, Wales, and Scotland on New Year's Day. Rain had been falling across the region for several hours. The Met Office warning stretches from Settle in the North Yorkshire Dales across the... I don't even know what that said. These waves are insane, though. Look at that. It's like 2 times as high as the lighthouse, which are, you know, historically pretty tall. Holy shit. We got more videos on this storm here. Apparently it made it all the way to Greater Manchester, which is, I think, kind of an interior part of England. Wow. Yeah. Turned the parking lot into a pond here. Cleanup operations, fuck you. They never give me enough time. Greater Manchester Police said specialist resources, including your dick, came to help. My God, thanks for the help. Emergency services received reports of damage, risk to life, and stranded vehicles. Why do I have to do it so fast? I hate you. Did I cover the burning Cybertruck? I did. I did cover the burning Cybertruck. It was the only thing I managed to put on the thumbnail. I'm sorry. We ended yesterday's stream so late, and then I did a couple of things because I'm still behind on my like space chores. My list of things I need to do, like laundry, and so I did laundry last night. This morning. Really, it was truly this morning. It was fully light outside by the time I went to sleep. Oh God. Woke up like 2 hours before the stream was supposed to start today.
Oh my God! After a month of rain in just 2 days, coming home for some looked like this. At a block of flats in Greater Manchester, residents woke up to see they were trapped.
Hiya.
Hiya, can you hear me?
Yeah, so the first thing we noticed overall was a power cut before we saw the water. And then after that, it just sort of encroached and got higher and higher. And then we tried the lights weren't working, there was no water. And then we looked outside and saw this. And yeah, not the best way to spend New Year's.
And do you feel like it's safe there? I mean, water and power, it's not a good mix, is it? How are you feeling?
It's a shock, to be honest.
A few hours later, cold and tired, they were evacuated. They don't know when they'll be able to return. The people who live here have told us that this flood water rushed in the middle of the night, and it was quickly well over the top of all of these cars that are still now stuck here. It's not, though, just people in these flats that have been affected. Behind me, there's a furniture business, there's offices and an industrial estate who are now all having to start this new year in a quite frankly miserable way. Greater Manchester Police declared a major incident, working with fire and mountain rescue teams to reach the stranded. The Environment...
Jesus Christ. What a way to start the year. Oh, God. Ah, God, I'm struggling to get through this right now. I'm struggling with everything. I think it's because I'm having a terrible day. Somebody pulled money out of my account for a bill unexpectedly that I was going to use to pay my earth rent. And now I don't have enough money to pay my earth rent. And I don't get paid by YouTube until the end of the month. So it's kind of a fuck situation right now. Struggling to think about anything else. Like how am I gonna get that paid right now? But must keep going on. Let's go to Bosnia. They were hit by a massive snowstorm a couple days ago. Damn, that's a lot of snow. It is winter after all. Hacked? No, I wasn't hacked. No, it was a bill. It was, somehow they auto-paid it without my say-so. And it's put my other bills in jeopardy. What's my Cash App? My Cash App's on the... It's on my bio on YouTube and on Twitch. Things are looking a lot like Christmas in Bosnia. See what I did there? Because it's snowing. Okay. Holiday jokes. They're almost over, don't worry. Only a couple more days left of 12 days of Christmas. And you'll never have to hear another Christmas joke from me ever again. Until later this year. You know, YouTube only pays us once a month. That's how they do it. They're like, hey, you don't need money every week. Come on. You can budget. You know how to budget, right? On a monthly basis. Just get paid one time, that's fine, right? I mean, it's not necessarily dirty. They told me, not ahead of time before I got monetized, but after the fact, after getting monetized, they're like, hey, you don't mind getting paid once a month, right? I'm like, okay. Yeah, I don't have an option, right? Nope. Okay, great. All right. Alright, let's go to Turkey and talk about their intentions to actually expand their energy footprint by, I don't know, increasing all sorts of fucked up plans. Let's talk about that.
In October, the Turkish seismic research vessel Oruç Reis docked at the port of...
Oh no, PB has to get surgery tomorrow. Alright, everybody, pray for PB. Pray to Gary for good surgery for PB.
Mogadishu for oil and gas exploration.
Yay.
This marked a significant milestone in
Oil
deepening
and
the
gas
energy partnership
exploration.
between Turkey and Somalia. The mission is a key development for Somalia's energy future and a major leap for Turkey's ambitions in the energy sector.
Our natural gas and oil exploration efforts continue beyond our borders as well as within our country. Our Oruç Reis ship started its activities in 3 areas in the Somali seas. I believe that we will receive good news from these efforts. As for oil, we have made the biggest oil discovery in our history in Gabar, a region we could not explore before due to terrorism.
The discovery of oil in the southern eastern Gabar mountain region is a breakthrough for Turkey's energy strategy. Once plagued by terrorism from the PKK terror group, the area now hosts Turkey's largest oil production facility. Turkey's oil production has seen a steady increase, with the November total reaching over 3.4 million barrels. Of this, Gabar is a key contributor with a daily output of more than 62,000 barrels.
I'm sure the position of this is not going to be problematic at all. By the way, that's Turkey. That's Turkey. That's Syria. And that, I believe, is Iraq. I'm sure them pushing into the mountain region here won't be causing any more tensions. It's super lit.
Contributor
Love this
with
plan.
a daily output of more than 62,000 barrels. In addition to...
Well, you know how Turkey is not just doing that, but they're also getting their shipping going big time between them and, what would she call them? Somalia? Or as we know it, Somalia. Let's talk about Turkey's shipping capabilities. What's this? Oh, this is from 2 days ago? Or a few days ago? Okay. Oh, fun. This is at Istanbul, seaport. Everything's going fine here. No problems. That's supposed to do that. That's the new way that they unload the vessels now. They just tip them over. Totally normal. No problem here. This is fine. This is fine. And they're going to be handling ships full of oil, which is also exciting. It's also exciting for the planet. It's also good. So good and also great. You think your ice scraper broke? That's a sad story. A very, very sad story. Alrighty. Let's talk about this. This is a it's a sad story, but thankfully it's only a historical one and not a discussion of a current situation that's happening. This is we're going to talk really quickly about commemoration that was going on after 20 years since the Indian Ocean tsunami, which killed 200,000 people in Thailand and other places that were hit by this tsunami. Let's go here. TRT World, 6 days ago.
It ranks as Asia's most powerful earthquake. In 2004, a tremor of a magnitude of 9.2 struck off the coast of Indonesia, triggering a huge tsunami that swamped countries in the Indian Ocean region. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their lives. Many were injured and lost their homes. Survivors remain traumatized by the horrors.
It's been 20 years, but I will never forget it. I could never forget helping a young child, grabbing anyone that was floating towards me, whatever came with the water. I did what I could.
This Thai fisherman describes seeing the tsunami approaching.
It was like a very, very tall wall of mist, like dust covering the whole area. It filled up the sky as I watched from here. It was just like those pictures you see. As the wave reached the bridge, I ran from here to the road, thinking I'd escape it. But I went right into it, coming from the other direction.
This Indonesian woman was also swept away. Her son, Siddiq, disappeared.
I ran towards the mosque, then Siddiq asked me to let him run on his own, but I insisted. When we reached the mosque, I let him go. Then water from the left and right struck us, and the wave carried me away, and that's when we were separated. The wave carried me away towards the house, and I kept praying to God that if I died, please bring me to your heaven.
Okay. I still feel sad because I lost our family. It's sad because not everyone experiences losing their family all at the same time. I'm still sad. Until now, we still miss them, and we don't know where they are. What is clear is that every year we always visit the mass graves in Uli, Lu, and Suran to pray for them. There are many lessons that I can take from this tragedy. Life is only temporary, so we will do the best in this life to be useful for others. It's a tragedy. One it's almost impossible to plan for. Earthquakes, the middle of the ocean. You know, one of those things that aren't human caused, generally speaking. And best we can do is sort of, you know, hope it doesn't happen. Maybe, you know, there are some engineering things that can be done in terms of seawalls, but it's hard to say what's going to happen, how big it's going to be, when it's going to be, all those things. Makes it a nearly unpreventable tragedy. Did we cover the burning Tesla truck? Yeah, we definitely covered that. Definitely covered that earlier. Alright. Let's take a look at this. Since it's still the holiday season. Take a look at some... Oh, wait. Oh, before that, gotta do something, another sad thing. Sorry, chat.
Schools of juvenile fish seek sanctuary in the arms of a branching coral. It looks as if it's bursting with life. But look more closely. The coral's bleached, the living algae expelled from the hard shell by high water temperatures. This is a marine environment that's struggling to survive.
The coral reef is like a marine city. So you find everything. You have many living organisms, like animal, vegetal, and everything, and they create like a living dynamic, and this dynamic will create like a balance for life.
In April, record ocean temperatures caused a mass bleaching that hit 77% of the world's coral reefs. Seascapes of glaring white, where once there had been vibrant colour. Even the anemones were bleached, much to the concern of the fish that call them home.
Jesus
now
Christ.
Some of the colour has returned to the marine environment, seasonal currents carrying cooler waters, but temperatures are still too high. Guillaume Brossard has been monitoring the reef on this part of Thailand's coast. Despite some signs of recovery, in some areas more than half the coral is lost forever.
The dead part is completely dead, so it will not recover. But the coral around, you know, the still living coral, we can, you know, colonizate, you know, the dead part.
Ah, God. Often feels like what we're trying to do is put a bandage on a bullet wound, and we need to stop doing the things we're doing that are killing all the coral. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing anything to sort of mitigate the, you know, the effects of human activity, but it's the human activity that's killing it. We got to do something about that part of it. That much is for sure. All right. Pandas. There you go. Pandas enjoying delicious panda presents on this panda holiday. Truly beautiful. The majestic panda. Alright, what next? The majestic Victorian wilderness in Australia. What's that? It's on fire? Oh, damn it.
That's hot.
The problem is that it's unpredictable where and when, and that's the hard part at the moment. We've got fire to our north, so the northerly wind at the moment could bring that onto us. We've got fire out to our west, so a westerly could bring that. The southerly that they're predicting this afternoon, there's a lot of fire to our south, so literally we could cop it from any direction.
The Grampians fire has now burnt around 55,000 hectares. We know there's considerable environmental damage in the Grampians, but also into some of the interface there with private lands. We have fence damages, we have stock losses. We also believe some outbuildings and sheds have been damaged from the fires. We have no reports as yet of residential homes, but there are many residential homes in the bush areas on the edges of the Grampians. So I wouldn't be surprised at some point if we do have residential losses.
As bushfires blaze through the Grampians National Park, the warnings are grim.
Deciding against the advice of our emergency services could just be the last decision you make.
It only needs one very bad day to be a very bad summer.
Yeesh. Well, looks like the outback is a bit hot right now. Unfortunately, hopefully people there stay safe and they manage to put those fires out soon. Fingers crossed. What do we do next? I guess we do this. Jeez, it's weird. We started this at a weird time tonight. Started this at a weird time. That's on me. I started it late. It's so late already. I'm gonna have to skip some stuff. Go straight into Earth news. So to Argentina, where a few days before the new year,
after anxiously waiting
Oh,
for a
wait.
signal for several days.
No, we're skipping
NASA
space news. Sorry, we're going to Argentina. This was a few days before the new year, where people in Argentina were protesting the Argentine government and Javier Milei, right? Yeah. And his austerity policies, which are essentially putting people who are in wheelchairs and, all sorts of other stuff like that. Into, what do you call it? Not so good situations. Now, I don't speak Spanish, so I don't know exactly what she's saying here. But that's my understanding of why they are protesting, at least. I don't have a translation in front of me right now, I'm afraid. Now, while we are in South America, figured we'd stick in the area, go to Latin America, talk about Donald Trump and his desires to own part of another country, multiple countries. He wants to own Greenland and wants to own Mexico and Panama Canal and all sorts of stuff. Apparently America's going to buy in the next few months.
So hot right now.
This news is funded by viewers like you. Please support our work at democracynow.org/give. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman. We turn now to look at how President-elect Trump has threatened to retake the Panama Canal. The United States controlled the waterway after its completion in the early 20th century. But in 1977, President Jimmy Carter signed a landmark treaty to give Panama control of the canal, which, by providing a path through Central America, revolutionized maritime shipping. During a speech in Arizona Sunday, Trump threatened to retake the canal.
If the principles, both moral and legal, of this magnanimous gesture of giving are not followed, then we will demand that the Panama Canal be returned to the United States of America in full, quickly, and without question.
Panama's President Jose Raul Molina rejected Trump's threat in a video he posted online.
I want to express that every square meter of the Panama Canal and its adjacent areas belong to Panama and will continue to belong to Panama. The sovereignty and independence of our country are not negotiable.
Meanwhile, on Wednesday, Trump announced he's picking Trump loyalist, local official Kevin Marino Cabrera from Miami to serve as U.S. ambassador to Panama. For more on this and Trump's vow to maybe also annex Canada, as he continually refers to Governor Trudeau, and even a possible soft invasion of Mexico, we're joined by the Pulitzer Prize-winning author Greg Grandin, history professor at Yale University. His recent op-ed in the New York Times headlined "The Republicans Who Want to Invade Mexico." His forthcoming book, America, America, A New History of the New World. Thanks for joining us, Professor Grandin. First, your response to Panama.
Well, Panama is interesting. I mean, I think there's a lot of things going on. Obviously, Trump is not president yet, and he's sending out messages that are meant to set a tone. And in some ways, it's classic Trump. He's saber rattling about these fantasies about taking back the canal. But I think the real kind of prosaic reason why he's doing that is to place signal pressure on Panama to clamp down on immigration and particularly to close down the Darien Gap. Last year, I believe the numbers are quite off the charts. Something like 400,000 migrants traipse through the very narrow jungle Darien Gap as part of the migration into the United States, and by placing pressure on Panama about the canal, this is Trump's way of bait and switch in some ways. But
yeah, I think that's a fair estimation of things. I don't actually think Donald Trump thinks he's going to get Panama to give the United States the canal. I figure he thinks that he's going to be able to use these sorts of insane, empty threats to get some sort of a sweet deal on U.S. ships going through the canal or something. I don't know. Something like that.
There are other things also going on. In some ways, it's distraction. The more we talk about Greenland, the more we talk about Canada and Governor Trudeau, and the more we talk about taking back the Panama Canal, the less we're talking about Syria or Gaza or these other hotspots that require significant attention and real diplomacy rather than this kind of circus act. But I also think that it speaks to this signal shift in the global order. I think that the old liberal order, multilateral order that Trump stands apart and above from and has pledged to overthrow, it presided over untold number of hypocrisies and atrocities. But at least the premise that it was founded on was that nations were to cooperate with each other to create a peaceful world.
Interesting.
And hence,
never occurred to
diplomatic protocol.
Interesting.
Trump,
Just crazy enough to work.
By just talking about taking the canal or taking Greenland or turning Canada into the 51st state, is really hearkening back to a world where the doctrine of conquest still reigned.
Yes.
Where the presumption wasn't cooperation, the presumption was rivalry, competition,
the sort of adversarial,
and domination, in which smaller
psychotic
nations suffer what they must and bigger nations do what they will. And I think that this is classic. This is classic Trump. There's no way the United States is going to fill out greater America. This is red meat for the Trump base. You can go to Twitter. You can see all of these MAGA maps in which greater America is filled out from Greenland down to Panama, and it's a fantasy. There is not going to be a kind of return to territorial annexation in any significant way. I mean, the United States is not Israel, right? What? In Israel, there is a greater Israel actually being created. In the United States, it exists more in the kind of fantasy life of.
It's a great point, though. By this thinking, don't we own Israel? Isn't Israel really the 51st state? At least one of the extra states. Come on. It's true.
Rank and file, and I think that some of that is what is going on. And let me just add, it's Panama. Panama is one of the largest offshore money laundering shelters in the world. By some accounts, some $7 trillion exist in these offshore accounts. And if he really wanted to make America great, he would go after not the Panama Canal or worry about immigration. He would shut down the ability of these offshore financing to function, and he would tax that money. And then we'd have high-speed trains, we'd have healthcare, we'd have a nation, as he likes to put it.
Well, just as we talked about Greenland and China and the U.S. interests in Greenland, what about the Panama Canal and the possibility of a larger canal being built through Nicaragua and the role of China versus the U.S.?
Yeah.
Is Trump seeing
That
it
should be
in this
interesting.
context?
I would obviously Latin America is and its relationship with China is always a geostrategic concern for national security types, and it has been for quite a while. And in terms of the Panama Canal in particular, there are alternatives on the table. Claudia Sheinbaum in Mexico has talked about creating an interoceanic corridor, a combination of roadways and trains in that thin kind of waistband area of Mexico that would compete with the Panama Canal. Nicaragua, of course, is run by a degraded version of the Sandinistas, but they've been in talks with China. But this has been going on for decades, so it's unclear how real they were. The thing about building alternatives to the Panama Canal is that this happens whenever. It's been going on for quite a long time, for at least a century. Because of course the problem with Panama Canal, it's a locked canal. It's not.
Yeah, and the thing about canals is they're actually super expensive to build. And most of the canals that humanity uses currently were built a long, long time ago. Some of them with, slave labor or other very questionable means of labor, which helped keep the costs down. But even back then, doing projects like this cost millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars to do. And now, to try and do something in an even wider area of land to connect two oceans together, it's an incredible undertaking. It would cost an immense amount of money, manpower, and it would be, it would take a hell of a long time too. This isn't like a couple years and it's done. 40 likes. Yes, I see. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay. Hold on.
Sea level canal. So
what's happening?
It takes a long time to fill up the locks, bring them down, bring the ship across, and that's why the tariffs are so high. That's why the fees are so high. It's an enormous operation. So there's been a dream of a sea level canal for over a century, and maybe the will there is to build it either in Mexico or Nicaragua, but it's not anything I would hold my breath for, waiting to see happen. We'd probably have high-speed trains in the United States before that happened.
Interestingly, Trump's pick for the ambassador to Mexico is Ron Johnson, whose military career began in Panama. In the 80s, he was stationed in El Salvador as one of 55 U.S. military advisors as the Salvadoran military and paramilitaries were killing thousands of Salvadorans. He was a specialist in covert operations, became a member of the elite U.S. Special Forces, informally known as the Green Berets, a highly selective unit that also included figures like Trump's pick for National Security Advisor Michael Waltz. He is pushed for the U.S. also invading Mexico. Greg, as we wrap up.
Yeah, these are bad signs. Ron Johnson just brings us back to Iran-Contra. I mean, right into the heart of it. I mean, he was one of the so-called 55 military advisors on the ground in El Salvador while the United States was helping El Salvador build a death squad state. He's got, and then then he had a Korean Green Berets and onward to the CIA. He's seen some things, and to name him an ambassador to Mexico is again sending a strong signal. Again,
no shit. Okay. We will never have trains, it's true. We're not good enough for trains. We don't deserve them. Okay, chat? We weren't good enough. We've all been bad little boys and girls. And because of that, we don't get trains. Okay? If you were being better, maybe you deserve them. But no, paying your taxes, no, it doesn't count. You don't get to deserve public transportation for paying taxes. That's crazy.
That's too much, man!
You want to know what's exciting? I think we're going to get a replay of 2024. I'm pretty sure. It's going to be even worse. You know how 2024 sucked? Remember how shitty 2024 was? And we were like, God, can there be a worse year than 2024? I'm thinking yes. I'm definitely thinking yes. We're going to get to why I think that as we go along through this. Let's go here to the UK. Talk about the state of the British economy.
The archetypal small to medium-sized business that's the backbone of Britain's
breakfast. That looks
but
tasty.
earning a crust hasn't been this tough for years. Rising costs and looming tax changes and the increase in minimum wage mean the owner's hopes to open more outlets in the coming years are on hold.
I have to choose between whether I need to reduce staff hours, but then also I'm trying to give the best customer service to my customers as well, to make sure that I still got the footfall coming through.
What's it like trying to manage that uncertainty then?
It's very hard because with everything going up, with the supply chain going up as well, it's really hard for me as a small business to, from, I don't know, a breakfast being £15 to being increased to £20. How do I manage, how can I do that?
We're not talking about Hermes handbags here, we're talking about a breakfast.
Yeah, we're talking about breakfast. So.
We don't have figures for the Christmas period yet, but averaged across the UK economy, growth since the new government took power has reversed, with pubs, restaurants and retail doing particularly badly. The ONS has now downgraded its figures for Q2 from 0.5 to 0.4% and Q3. July to September had been predicted to be just 0.1%. It's now estimated to have flatlined at 0. The CBI predicts 2025 won't be easy and expect...
So here's the thing I would like for people to think about right now, because it might not be obvious to everybody if you're not paying attention to it. But the fact is we keep hearing stuff about, oh, the price of this and the price of that, it just keeps going up. And why does it keep going up? And it's all about greed, right? The fact is that if you look at prices for commodities, for the things that you are eating at the restaurant, right? Practically all of it has been going down. Practically all of it's been going down. Even if you, even if you're being told it, you're being lied to. Okay, right now, I'm telling you right now, it's not true. Okay, you don't believe me? Give me a second. You're like, oh, Streamlord, what the fuck are you talking about? Everybody says that everything is getting more expensive. No. It's the suppliers that are charging you more for giving you the same stuff, right? It's the greedy corporations that are claiming that costs are going up, but the cost for them that's going up is paying you a tiny, slightly bit more than before, and they're claiming that that's all of it. You're like, Streamlord, what about supply chains and blah blah blah? Well, let's just look at this real quick. Here's a couple of examples of things that people talk about the price of regularly. Here we go. Look at that. Here's a chart. Soybeans, one of the most used staples on the planet for food. Okay, so look it up. But I think you can agree with me that soybeans are a huge food staple. And we keep talking about how food is more expensive. Soybeans are in so much stuff. From soy sauce up to they get put into all sorts of things, and all the way up through your cereals and everything else. Here's back in 2022, where they're $1,800 of whatever they measured them on the stock market. I don't know, a metric ton. I have no idea. They are now back down to 1,000. Essentially, they were higher in 2016. The cost of soybeans were higher in 2016 by 10% than they are now, right? You see that? They were even cheaper back here. They were $960 back in 2024, just in August, just a few months ago, right? So we're talking about prices like 2018, 2019 prices 2015, like, this is basically, they've all flatlined, and yet people keep claiming, oh, it's more expensive. Oh, we can't get things for cheap. It's like, dude, what are you talking about? And it's people that are being greedy, oftentimes. You're like, that's just one example. Okay, fine. Let's talk corn. Here's corn prices over the last 5 years. Corn was up here, $800 back in 2022. The low here just a few months ago, it was at $367. Did your food get 66% cheaper over the last 2 years? What happened here? Where's the disconnect? In 2 years, we went down almost 60%, from 800 down to 350. What happened? I'm very confused. I don't understand. And maybe you can't see the graph. I know it's small. Let's look at it bigger. Here, look at it. This is corn futures. Look. 2022. 2024. This was August, just a couple months ago. Were you paying 66% less than you were in 2022 just a couple months ago? Was anybody lowering the price of corn chips for you? I know plenty of people eat Doritos, things like that. Tortillas. Do those get super cheap for you? What happened? Somebody, somewhere down the line, kept telling you that things were a certain price, but kept charging you more for it. And oftentimes, I'm not going to go directly at restaurant owners like that guy was talking about, but I'll bet you money the people supplying him food aren't lowering their prices, even though corn or whatever else is going down as an input cost for them. Now, of course, eggs are a very particular thing, and that's a different situation, right? Because of bird flu. Eggs and some other dairy products as well, I think. But basically, is anything else, for fuck's sake. What a great world we have. All right, let's go to Germany. Here's a sign that it's going to be a repeat of 2025. Guess what Germany decided to do? They decided to pull a Britain/France, right? Remember last year when Britain called the snap election, and then a month later, France called a snap election? Well, Germany will not be left behind. Okay, they're not going to be the only ones not to call a random snap election for no good reason. And so they're doing just that.
So the dissolution then of the German parliament rubber-stamped in the last hour. The German President Walter Steinmeier setting the wheels in motion in the parliament and setting national elections there for February the 23rd. Now it comes after Chancellor Olaf Scholz lost a no-confidence vote earlier this month, bringing down his three-party coalition government. Well, we're going to cross then to Berlin, speak to correspondent Jörg Tashman, who joins us from there. So first of all, just tell us what exactly happened in parliament and how we've got here.
The law commands in Germany that if you lose the vote of confidence, and Olaf Scholz wanted to lose it deliberately, that's the only way to get snap elections. And then the federal president, Frank-Walter Steinmeier, he has 21 days to dissolve the parliament.
Okay, so if you're not following what's happened here, because it's a little convoluted, Olaf Scholz, the president of Germany, intentionally forced a snap election by intentionally losing a no confidence vote, getting people of his own party to vote against him so that they could do this. Like, this is literally we're doing 2024 all over again, people. I swear to God, it's all happening.
He only took 11 because he knew there will be no other political solution. There is no majority possible with the remaining parliament. And now on February 23rd, we will have snap elections. This is what the law commands, and this is what Steinmeier did, and he didn't need 21 days to figure that out.
There's no way this goes wrong, especially with the AfD being as it is right now, sort of gaining ground in Germany in a horrifying manner. There's no way this goes wrong. Write that down. It's only the second day. That's fair. But this was actually from a couple of days ago, so... I mean, it's going to happen during this year. But, yeah. Alright, let's go south to Rome. To Italy. Here we go. Here we go, people. This is the moment where we get a little respite from the horrible. Let's take it in, people. A little bit of art, a little culture, a little class. The Trevi Fountain is beautiful, no? It's magnifico. Can ducks buy bread? I thought we had to give you the bread. If I had known
percorso attraverso la
didn't have
passerella
to give you
per
bread, you could just go
capire
buy
se era
yourselves.
possibile
I would
recuperare
just say
un
pick
rapporto più
yourself up
diretto
by
col
your
monumento, una visione più
little bootstraps
ravvicinata
there.
che consentisse di
You're
cogliere il
asking me for
racconto
bread. What does this
complessivo
look like?
che questo mostruoso monumento tardo
It's a
barocco
fantastico,
proto-neoclassico
majestico,
racconta. E quindi abbiamo deciso
truly
sulla base
beautifico
dell'esperienza di regolamentare
situation.
il flusso consentendo l'accesso alla base della fontana, cioè
Look at
lungo
it,
il
it is a
percorso del bacino,
magnificent
a
statue,
400
it cannot
persone
be
alla volta,
better.
in modo che
It's,
avessero tutto
you have
il
never seen a
tempo
statue that is
di
this good.
osservarla, di comprenderne i valori che sono
Have you? No,
sottesi
you
ad
haven't,
essa.
because this is the best statue on the planet. No questions, thank you. Alright. Enough of that outside the fountain.
I lavori sono stati avviati il 30 settembre di quest'anno, sono durati...
Well, there we go. A little class, little art, a little art, little culture, little history, all wrapped up in one. So sexy. But we're not gonna leave Italy quite yet, because we have to go to Bologna, where artist Ai Weiwei. I always forget how you pronounce his name. Ai Weiwei. I think that's how you. He's an artist. Put on his works here on display in Bologna. I think it's Ai Weiwei. What is the ultimate slur? What is that? I mean, I know what it is, but what is it made of? What are those? I can't even tell. Like tiny... Are they like textile? I mean, or... It's hard to tell what they are. I guess it could be pottery.
The title, Who Am I, is a philosophical question. It's about a human or a human society would keep asking about what identifies us as a human and why we are different. So those questions would always be a valid question.
All right, a little bit of art there for us. Alright, let's go here to Syria. See what's going on there. Fine. Why are you saying nonsense words in chat? Fine? What is a fine?
Aleppo is one of the oldest cities
PH.
in the world. It's also one of the most culturally significant. Its heritage runs deep. Much has been inherited from a series of empires spanning millennia. But a decade of civil war and an oppressive regime has also left much in ruins.
Mohammed Khalilo is a civil and human rights activist working with the UN. He's from Aleppo, has a comprehensive knowledge of its history, and is a member of the city's Edyat Archaeological Society.
When we talk about Aleppo, we talk about history. It is impossible not to mention Aleppo in history. Aleppo is an old established city. If we want to talk about Aleppo, we talk about the castle.
One of Syria's 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, the Citadel of Aleppo is one of the oldest and largest castles in the world, dating back to around 3500 BC. It's seen the rise and fall of 17 empires, but sustained some of its heaviest damage during the war in Syria and in the 2023 Turkey-Syria earthquake. It's far from the only site in Aleppo under restoration. Just a few hundred meters away is Aleppo's Umayyad Mosque. It was built just a decade after the famous Umayyad Mosque in Damascus, in an attempt to compete with its grandeur. The mosque became the focus of a number of battles over the centuries, being destroyed and rebuilt several times. During the war in Syria, it suffered the same fate, and its famous minarets built by the Mamluks in the 11th century collapsed.
When the regime was present here, they used to say that this mosque was destroyed by the revolutionaries, or that they bombed the mosque. In fact, it was a place of conflict, and they used to carry out the worst types of violence, even against Syrians.
The Old Bazaar, or El Medina Souk, dates back over 1,000 years. It extends over 13 kilometers, making it the largest covered bazaar in the world. As a central point along the Silk Road, it used to be home to over 1,000 stalls. Long after, it continued to serve as the beating heart of a great trading city.
When the revolutionaries entered the eastern areas, the areas of Aleppo, which are mostly the old areas of Aleppo, as we call them, there was a systematic destruction of these markets. This affected the economy in many ways. It affected the Syrian economy in general, and it affected the city of Aleppo because all the industrialists lost their places, the commercial places which are the city and the covered markets.
All right. Alright, I think I'm going to have to end it here tonight, chat. I am so sorry. But I will try and get back soon. Later this, what is it? Is it Thursday? I should probably be streaming again later tonight. I should get some sleep. Honestly, even though I slept a bunch during the day. I should sleep now because I should try and do day things. I need to figure out some shit about how I'm going to deal with the fact I don't have money to pay my rent right now. It's not good. So yeah, I will I'll try and stream later tonight. Well, got through another one. That's gonna be it for me tonight, but till I see you next, you stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Can't forget this. These are your galactic patrons. Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W, Schmegley, PB, Mitty, Afroponics, Narwhal by Nature, Interplanet Janet, Techno Apoc, Robot Cat, Disco Calibrating, stop screaming in chat, goddamn it. Decipher, The Anti-Corporatist, Obsessive Audio, Moanov, Nadia, Choki, Mrs. Jen, Omegastar, Sasha G, Pitchfork Dragon, Vincent Morales, and Donald James X. That's right, all these people here have helped to produce the show that your eyes and ears just got to enjoy. You can too for just a few US dollars a month.